What is that separates strategy that actually delivers impact from strategy that just produce activity? Picture this. You're walking out of the quality review on a Monday, and the mandate is already on your desk. Grow the segment, expand the market, fix the margin slide. By the time you get through the week, Teams notifications, urgent meetings, the calendar pull in 5 different directions. It's Friday, and your team has put together a deck. 23 initiatives, all neatly clustered into different categories. You walk into the next review with a solid deck, good story, engaged team. And you also know somewhere in the back of your head that last quarter's deck was solid too. And the strategic number is still missing. That's the daily struggle of a strategic leadership. The mandates keeps coming. The deck keeps going out. The activity is real. But the question that doesn't go away, the one that actually matters, how do you turn strategic intent into actual delivered impact? Not just another project activity. I'm Li Bin Hong. I've spent the last 20 years working from strategy through execution. Supply chain optimization, healthcare manufacturing, international market entries, M&A integration. And a lot of that time have been spent watching strategies succeed and fail in real rooms. I write a strategy and systems newsletter. It's where I walk through how strategy becomes impact. Here's what I think the real pain is. You can run a totally clean strategic process, good workshop, rigorous business case, committed team, and still completely miss the strategic outcome you were aiming for. The activity was real, the impact wasn't. That's a gap I've spent years trying to close. What is that separates strategy that actually delivers impact from strategy that just produce activity? And here's what I've come to believe. Strategy isn't vague. Most strategies are pretty well defined at the top. The challenge is in how strategy gets managed downstream. It gets fragmented, decomposed into work streams that no longer add up to anything coherent. A collection of projects instead of a connected system. And a collection of projects produce activity, not impact. Those 23 initiatives on your whiteboard, they are the symptom. Splitting strategy into work streams, growth, margin, transformation, customer experience improvement. That sounds reasonable, but it removes the connection from view, and impact actually lives in the connections, not in any one work stream by itself. So the way out isn't a better workshop. It's a framework for thinking about strategy as one connected system, designed to produce one specific impact. I call this pattern impact architecture. 4 layers, one row from strategy to impact. So let me give you an example. Think about GE's 2015 acquisition of Alstom's power business. $10 billion. Big bets on the gas turbine market. That's a part of energy business where industrial companies generate electricity by burning natural gas. GE's board reviewed the deal 8 times. The integration after the closing, textbook. Every functional milestone got hit. But the value of the deal depended on something the financial model never actually priced as a variable. Specifically, how fast renewable energy was getting cheaper. And the answer turned out to be faster than anyone projected. Solar and wind cost curve collapsed. Climate policy accelerated. The gas turbine market, the market GE had just bought into, basically shifted underneath them. 3 years later, GE rolled down $22 billion from that deal. That's the accounting language for the business they just bought is now worth a fraction of that. Now here's the interesting part. The risk section of the deal documents had named the energy transition, but the financial model treated it as a footnote. The acknowledgement was there, it just never made it into the numbers that were driving the decision. So layer 1, review the structure. It's about seeing what your strategy actually depends on before you change anything. Here's the mental model. When every function hits its target and the company still misses the number, the problem isn't execution, it's the dependencies nobody mapped. Take Nokia for a different angle. By 2007, Nokia had close to 50% of the global handset market share. They were dominant. They even have touchscreen prototypes years before iPhone came out. So what was the pain Nokia was feeling? The hardware pressure. Margin was slipping, project cycles were getting faster, customers want better and better devices. So Nokia did what makes sense from inside that pain. They pushed harder on hardware. More models, more features, faster releases. The problem was that the market had already shifted somewhere else. What was actually determining who wins in the market had moved. Apps were attracting users, users were attracting developers, developers were building more apps, and that's the feedback loop that mattered. And Apple and Google were pushing on that feedback loop. Nokia was pushing on a pain, which was symptomatic of losing the feedback loop. By 2013, Nokia's global smartphone market share was under 5%. So layer 2, Orient on the lever, is about finding where your action actually changes the outcome. Not where the pain shows out, but where the feedback loop turns. Here's the mental model. The lever isn't where the pain is, it's where the feedback loop turns. So now you have reviewed the structure, you have oriented on the right lever. Now you have a strategic move you actually believe in. Layer 3, assess the bet, is about making sure you really know what you're committing to before you commit. Here's what I have seen happen over and over. Most business cases got approved on the best case scenario. The harder questions. What does this really cost when you count attention, coordination, the opportunity cost of where else that capacity could be going? What are the risks that could fail at the same time? What's the one assumption that, if wrong, the whole plan falls apart? Those questions tend to sit in the footnote, not in the model. So the strategy moves forward priced on what the case hoped for, not on what's actually been tested. Here's the mental model. A business case built on untested assumptions isn't really a case, it's a hope. And then there's layer 4, deliver the impact. Once the bet is priced, you have to actually design what makes the strategy real inside the organization. And the organization, remember, is full of people with their own priorities, their own pressures, their own read on what this plan really means for them. Most strategies don't fail on the spreadsheet, they fail in the hallway. Someone who wasn't even in the planning room quietly vetoed the plan from outside. Or the team has the same debate every quarter because nobody locked in the decision up front. Or, and this is the one that's hardest to see, by the time the financial matrix tells you whether the strategy is working, it's already too late to do anything about it. Here's the mental model. Execution isn't a willpower problem. It's a design problem. So that's the architecture. 4 layers, 1 row from strategy to impact. When the row is intact with 4 layers in place, strategic intent actually becomes the outcome you wanted. When any layer gets missed, intent collapses into activity, and the company misses the number. Here's where we land. The mandate's going to land on your desk again, next week, next quarter. The firefighting is going to keep arriving, that part doesn't change. The question that actually matters isn't whether you ship another deck. You will. The question is whether the deck turns into impact or whether it joins the power of strategic plans that just produce more activity. The impact architecture is the mindset that closes that gap. On this channel, I'm going to take you deeper into each of those 4 layers. Public cases that show what breaks when a layer goes missing. Practitioner walkthroughs on how the work actually gets done. Welcome to my channel, Strategy and Systems. If you're interested to learning more, please subscribe. I also added a newsletter link in the description. See you next time.